There were several other suspects that came to light during the investigation. Howells, I believe, was a talker who kind of told his wife that he had killed the Sims.
Robert Howells marries Peggy Howells on December 21st, 1966. And the reason that he was known as Rob Howells, the reason that Rob Howells becomes of interest in the Sims family murder is what happened the day after he marries Peggy Howells. This is according to her testimony. They're driving from Tallahassee down to Alligator Point in his car. Presumably they're going down to Alligator Point to honeymoon or vacation. At some point during this trip, Howells begins telling Peggy in graphic detail how he murdered Joy Sims first, Helen Sims second, and Robert Sims third. And she's completely horrified. I mean, this is coming out of left. She has no idea that this is coming. And she just lets him talk because she is traumatized by what he's saying.
There were several cases of this around town of men, telling their wives, I kill them, you don't stay in line, I'm gonna come up and kill you too, and I'll get away with it. And so, well, Mrs. Howells was one of the women who got that ultimatum.
Now, how do we know this? Well, as it turns out, a letter was discovered that she had written in the 80s, and the person who found the documents was just going through the documents and finds this letter by Peggy Howells that incriminates her now ex-husband. According to Peggy Howells, he was violent, he beat her frequently, he threatened to kill her stepson on more than one occasion. Police were called more than once for several domestic issues with him. He seems to have a very, very violent temper, especially when he drinks.
The evidence shows that he was somebody that was a bad drunk, a mean drunk, said things to his wife to scare her.
Peggy is so convinced that Rob is implicated somehow in this murder that she agrees to go undercover for the Tallahassee police to get a confession from Rob. And so they bug her house, they mic her up, they carefully plan this event where they're trying to get Rob's confession. Well, it goes wrong. They don't get Rob's confession. In fact, Rob is tipped off by his daughter somehow of what is going down. So the question becomes, what is Rob Howells' motive to kill 3 people? And the motive, as it turns out, really is very slim.
Claimed he had gotten into some kind of discussion with Mrs. Sims at a grocery store that was nearby at the time, and so he followed her home and made a note that he was going to come out and kill her, according to him. Nothing really substantiated that.
I'm not buying the motive. Peggy goes to the police officials here in Tallahassee, and with a couple of things. One of which is she has a .32 caliber handgun that she claims might have been used in the murder. We know, though, that a .38 caliber handgun was used in the murder. Now, what is motivating this from her end? Why is she driving so hard to get this conviction or implicate her ex-husband? We're not for sure, but as you look at the police reports, it's clear that this man was very, very, very violent. And so it's clear in the 80s that Peggy Howells has an axe to grind with her ex-husband. And Rob's like, hey, bring me in. My ex-wife is manic depressive, so he claims. This is why she's doing this. She's trying to get back at me.
You never really know what a person's motivations are, but she seemed pretty enthusiastic and pretty adamant about putting the focus on him.
But Rob Howells is off the hook at some point when his fingerprints don't turn up at the crime scene. He passes with flying colors the polygraph test, and also the gun doesn't match. It's a .32 caliber. We know at the crime scene was a .38 caliber. And so he comes out clean, but it's a curious episode in this case.
I think that because of your intellect, that you sit there knowing whether you did or not, playing the game with us, is to get up this close, back off, see what we're going to do, see if you catch us in the lie or catch us in the trick or something like
Yeah.
So another really important person in the investigation of the murders is Tommy Fulgham, who's a 16-year-old boy, sophomore at Leon High School. Jump ahead to when Fulgham is 29 years old. He's living up in Atlanta, and he commits a murder that would maybe even cause Hannibal Lecter to blush. We find him with a liver in a jar, and we find a disemboweled woman that he's just murdered in the apartment with her hands cut off.
He killed his girlfriend in Atlanta in 1978. He took her body apart, essentially, and when the police got there, he had her liver or another organ in a jar at his side. He told the police that he did so because he thought if he did that, Satan would be chained for 1,000 years and Satan could no longer be upon the earth.
So Fulgham, while he's up in Atlanta, apparently interested in chiropractic as a profession, befriends a husband and wife, the Carrs, and proceeds to tell the Carrs over a series of days, I believe it is, that he's worried he may be possessed by the devil. And after that, he goes a step further and says, I might be the devil.
He became obsessed with religion, and he became obsessed with life forces and Satan dwelling within people in the mid-70s.
A reporter for the Tallahassee Democrat by the name of Ron Stocks turns up this murder and does a little bit of homework and sees, oh, Tommy Fulgham lived literally 2 blocks south of 641 Muriel Court. And in fact, if you look at the maps, they're really, really close together. Here's a cold-blooded murderer living a stone's throw from the Sims family. And so Ron Stocks suddenly kind of puts 2 and 2 together and thinks, I wonder what he was doing back on October 22nd, 1966. Takes this to the state attorney, Willie Meggs, to kind of say, look, you might have somebody of interest here. Did you know that this person lived real proximate to the murder scene? Did you investigate him?
Ron was basically a cub reporter with the Tallahassee Democrat at the time. He's deceased now, but Ron was pretty good reporter, and he was one of those really inquiring minds, want to know, and so he was kind of fascinated with this case.
My memory is, and it might be because it was just new information to me, that his research was pointing more in the direction of Tommy Fulgham, is what he was indicating to us.
At that time, he was in the 9th grade. He was 15 years old. And looking at his school yearbook photos, he was pretty small of stature at that time. He didn't play football. He was in chorus. That was his main activity. But a normal kid by all accounts.
He lived on the street behind us, and he was 2 years older than us. And he had 2 younger brothers who were like my younger sister's age. And anyway, he was really cute.
He was.
He was
smart, wasn't he?
He was beautiful.
He liked to go out on the weekend, just like any normal 15, 16-year-old would do. He didn't start to get bigger until after high school, and then ultimately he went into the Navy. He started weightlifting, served in the military, was honorably discharged, started to have some really bad mental health problems in the mid-70s, so several years after this case.
In 1966, when the police are doing kind of their door-to-door interviewing of people in and around Muriel Court, they come to Mary Beth Avenue. Well, this is where Tommy Fulgham and his family live. Guess where Tommy is? He's nowhere to be found when the police show up. So much so that the police become a little bit suspicious about why is Tommy Fulgham, who's 16 years old, a sophomore at Leon High School, why is he avoiding us?
No 15-year-old thinks they're going to need an alibi, but I think we're pretty close to having one for him because he was at a party that night, and people remember him being at that party.
It turns out several people were interviewed about his whereabouts on October 22nd, including his ex-girlfriend, and he supposedly was at a party.
Tommy was a good suspect at that time, and it made sense to look into him because he lived so close to the Sims family and because he did commit a brutal murder in 1978. But ultimately, Mr. Stock was not able to find anything conclusive, and I think he sort of ran into difficulty with working with the sheriff's office and them sharing information, and ultimately, unfortunately, he was killed in a traffic accident, so his work was cut short.
So it's really important on the surface, it looks like Tommy Fulgham, well, that could be our guy. But two things disqualify him. Number one, his prints do not match any found at the crime scene. And number two, neither of the surviving Sims daughters recognized him. They didn't even know who he was.